Hello, everybody. Fun Guy Podcast. I'm live in the studio with my guest Jack tonight. Before we get started, tonight's show is going to be sponsored by the Clubhouse Inc. So if you like this hoodie or any of the other ones I've worn, you can find that at www.shoptheclubhs.com. That's www.shoptheclubhs.com. So I'm super excited tonight. My guest is going to be Jack. Jack, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going on over there.
How's it going, Fun Guy Podcast? I want to say thank you for the opportunity for letting us on. My name's Jack. I reside at the House of Maskew. I'm a serial killer. We play with axes, zip ties, chains. You name it, we got it.
That's awesome. So let's start from the beginning then. How did you develop this character? How did you come into the House of Maskew, and how did you kind of come up with this idea of the character that you are in right now?
It was kind of just thrown together. We originally found the mask first, and we're like, what could possibly go good with a Laughing Jack mask? So we went out and found, I don't know if you can see this. You know what this is?
It's hard to read, but I could see the lettering on it. Is it sick something?
Beetlejuice.
Oh, Beetlejuice. Okay.
This is a Beetlejuice outfit. We threw it together with the hat and the mask and the tie, and it just all came together. Kind of like an accident, honestly.
Okay.
And we got the idea for the Ouija board because when we first started doing this as Jack didn't talk. So we had to figure out a way, how could Jack interact with his audience? And we saw another creator on TikTok using a whiteboard. And we're like, that's genius. Well, we looked over and we had this. Like, why don't we communicate to our audience through a Ouija board?
Okay.
It had never been done before. So when we first started, Jack didn't talk for 9 months. When he went on live, he used that Ouija board. And everything else just kind of developed and evolved from there. Jack was our first big hit. If you look at the characters before Jack, they were kind of big hits, but not as big.
Sure.
And that's kind of how Jack started. All of this was just put together, from the gloves to the hat to the shoes.
So I know you mentioned TikTok. That's the platform that I found you on. How do you figure out the skits that you're going to do, and like what you do and incorporate them? Because some of them are short. Obviously, they catch people's attentions, but some of them have some kind of intrigue to them. Is that kind of a story you put together, or where do you get your inspiration from?
So we're big horror movie fans, and one of the horror movies that really helped evolve our content was a movie, The Strangers. And a lot of our original content didn't really have a story, but it just kind of developed into its own story. Like, if you go back and watch our very first video going up, it tells an incredible story that was actually an accident. It was an accidental storyline. And then we tried doing actual storylines, and the ones we didn't put that much thought into are the ones that made it.
Sure. Right. So that's the happy accidents then. So when you develop the character, do you have like an idea in your head of like what you want to have happen, like in a scene, or do you kind of build it like a movie, or do you kind of build it as like a short? Because obviously those short films on YouTube now are becoming like extremely popular. The 5 to 7 minute like horror skits that they do are like, it's blowing up. So is that something like you're aspiring to, or do you want to like get into Hollywood, like make movies, or where do you see the character going?
We would love to get in the movies, but
Okay.
we don't see that happening. But if you look at our content, we almost do movie style content ourselves. So,
Sure.
And once you get involved with all the big stuff like Hollywood and stuff, that seems like it'd be too much of a headache.
So if you took, like, for instance, I don't know, are you familiar with the Terrifier story and Damien Leone and how he started that? So all those were skits that he just put skit to skit to skit together and created the movie. That's how he developed it. So a lot of the stuff he was doing wasn't like he sat down and screen wrote the movie. It was a lot of small stuff, piece by piece, that he created this kind of clown character that just stormed the internet. And, now he's huge. He's everywhere. He's working on his third movie. So it became an instant cult classic.
Oh yeah, he did, and we have much respect for everything about those movies. We haven't seen the third one yet, but we're waiting on it.
Sure, sure.
No, yeah, that would be incredible to do if it happened. But I've found out personally myself, the higher you get, the more problems it comes with, and I'm sure he's
Hmm.
figuring that out, also. But we've had our taste, and we're happy kind of where we're at right now.
That
As
makes
far as
sense.
an actual storyline, though, that is a good idea. Just piece it all together, skit by skit.
Sure. And so it's funny because I've had a couple musicians on my show, and I've asked them like, what about breaking it big, like in a band, doing a mass production like tour and stuff like that, or staying on TikTok and doing. And surprisingly enough, two out of the three said TikTok, like getting like on a their own live and playing what they want to play when they want to play it far outweighs the fact of like going on tour. And like even Kaji said, he's like, I'd rather be in my own little thing unless a band asks me to like come on to them that's already established. He's like, I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to establish my own band. And so a lot of the answers that I get, surprisingly enough, are like, we like what we're doing on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. We're going to stay here. We don't need the big studio production of what we're doing. And I thought that was kind of intriguing because 25, 30 years ago, that wasn't even unheard, like that. You didn't even you started off playing an instrument to be a rock star, right? It was kind of like an athlete. He started off playing to get to the pros, and now it's kind of like this weird navigation where most people like are comfortable just doing what they want to do when they want to do it, as opposed
Well,
to being told what to do and how to do it.
yeah, that's where it comes into, and money, of course, it's always money.
Sure.
But if you look at those pro football players like 30 years ago, like actors and actresses, they all got gypped in the
Mhm.
end, because of their agents and stuff like that, or family members, or
Right.
something's happened to and a lot of people don't realize is with fame comes problems, and that's what happened with a lot of them. And one of those things was contracts, but doing it this way with like YouTube, TikTok,
Mhm.
Instagram, Facebook, with all these free platforms where you don't have to sign a 10-year contract, and you're able to make and create your own content without anybody behind you telling that it's all wrong.
Right. You're 100% right. So when you create a skit, how long do you rehearse? How do you find like the actors and actresses that do that with you? Like, how do you prep for that? Is that something like you have kind of planned out, or do you like kind of in your mind know what you want to do and then take one, it's not what you thought it was going to be, so you scrap it and start, or do you just kind of start, stop, and kind of work through it?
Most of our videos are on the spot. They're right on the spot, like they're not planned or scripted. Uh, we do them right on the spot. If we don't like it, we'll redo it another way. But
Okay.
a lot of it's on the spot thinking. What can we do with this rope in a tree, or a shovel? We got a shovel with a big pile of dirt outside. You know, that's how we came up with the Ouija board. It was literally just sitting on a table, and it's like, why don't we use that?
Okay.
And we tried it like right on the spot. So everything we do almost is on the spot. Now there are some planned project videos that we do with other people, like collaborations and stuff like that. But the majority of our skits are on the spot. Also, you said trying to find actors and actresses. The location we're at, it's extremely difficult because a lot of people don't want to sit in a chair and be kidnapped.
Sure.
Because let's face it, in the normal world, that's weird if somebody asks you that. Hey, do you mind sitting
Right.
in a chair being duct taped? And a lot of people will say yes, but when the time comes,
Sure.
they back out real quick. Um, and that's what's great about our account is you don't know if it's entertainment or is it real. Because
Hmm.
we have victims every now and again on our live, but why are they every now and again? You know, um, but it's a lot of fun. In the end, though, everybody that I've worked with has always had fun, and that's the main
Sure.
goal. Is to
Yeah,
have
that's
fun.
awesome, right? Because you want it to be entertaining, right? Like you ultimately put all this work and effort into it, so people
Mm-hmm.
see you and like you put the content out there so that you get attraction to it. It's obviously a bigger stage when you're looking to grow your numbers and get the algorithm and, boost your channel and then get the followers that you want to ultimately get paid to do this, which is, what most people's goal, in the back of their mind is, myself included, so it's, most people don't understand the time you have to put forth to do these. Even in a 30-second or a minute skit takes a lot of time to do that. And people don't understand the backbone and the structure of that. Maybe you can give a little insight about how, you do your takes, what like equipment you use. Do you use like just a camera phone, or do you like have like studio equipment? Like walk us through your setup.
Well, editing a video. We did one video. It took 60 seconds to film, took 8 hours to edit. 8 hours to edit one video. It was when we were coming out of a television thing, and that was our first time doing it. We had no idea what we were doing.
Right.
But the editing, if you can master the edit, you can master almost any video.
Right.
Our studio, we kind of got a studio, and I'll give you a tour real quick. Well,
okay.
We got like a green screen down there. We got the big giant lights. You can't see the green screen.
So you have a pretty good setup then going for what most people would consider a studio. That's a pretty big space that you have. Most people have, a little box that they pretty much work out of. So that's pretty unique.
Yeah, there we go.
That's awesome.
Yep. We got the green screen. We got the studio lights. We got a unique background in the back. This actually glows in the black light, so it's really
that's
cool.
Awesome. So since we were talking about music and musicians on, how do you go about music and Omnia sounds? Do you find uncopyrighted stuff, or do you sometimes ask permission to use it, or how does that work with the ambiance?
Oh, we just find the sound that matches the video. One of the sounds we actually paid for. We paid like $100 for it to be made, and I think we've used it twice.
Okay.
Paid $100 to have a song made. But Daisy Bell became our theme song. A lot of people get it confused with Tiptoe, but no. Mm-hmm. Daisy Bell is the song of the house, but Tiptoe could be secondary.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't use any music like as far as my introduction goes, and I know a lot of people are like, you should have an intro with some, and I was like, I don't want to get hit with the copyright stuff. And the stuff on YouTube, like you mentioned, editing, when you put the music into edit, you have to pick up from where we leave off. So we're live right now on Facebook through StreamYard, but when I end the video and I upload it to YouTube, it's a whole other demographic over there. So Facebook, as long as we're live and we don't use anything copyrighted, our live keeps flowing on Facebook. But YouTube, as soon as you start messing with the edits and add music, they are all about the copyrights right away, and they won't let you post something if you use a copyrighted song.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, it's unique in that regard. So that's why I don't do an intro or have anything. And I know there's thousands of, songs on YouTube, but a lot of them are being used by other YouTubers. And it's like, you don't want to steal their stuff, even though it's free and you can. I'm trying to find something that nobody else has, which is hard to do.
Yeah,
with such a small selection of free stuff, or paying for some, like you said, to have somebody create something for you, which, if you don't get it copyrighted yourself, then they could use it as well.
Right.
So it's a very interesting thing. So speaking of copyrights and rights to stuff, do you own this now? Like, can anybody else get this mask, or like, does this solely belong to you?
No. This isn't copyrighted.
You didn't trademark it at all?
No, it's not copyrighted. This is the Laughing Jack Myth from Creepypasta. You can find it at almost any Halloween spirit store.
Okay. So there wouldn't be any way to tweak that, or you'd want to, where no one else could recreate it, or you don't really mind if they do?
I don't mind if they do. For me, it would be exposure. It's free exposure, Like, if somebody buys this mask because they saw me wearing it, and then they got like 10 friends who are like, wow, where'd you get the mask? He's like, well, from Halloween Spirit, and there's this guy on TikTok.
Mm-hmm. So that I guess is true, because the first thing I did when I came up with the One Fun Guy name is I trademarked it right away, because obviously I didn't want anybody else to use it, from my platform. Obviously, I'm a little bit different with not like wearing an outfit like you do, so I understand that. But you feel, I don't know, like if somebody took your idea, right, and ran with it, you did it first, right? So you would feel like, hey, I've been doing this for this amount of years, and then some other guy comes on scene and just kind of swoops under. I don't know. I kind of feel violated, I guess, if that happened, or like, you know, pissed off at that point, be like, what the hell? Like, this was me.
Well, they say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. So
That is true.
if,
So,
if they want to go out and get all this stuff and wear it in this 90-degree heat,
sure.
have at it.
Right, right. So yeah, so you're looking at it from a pretty unique way. Then that's a good way to look at it. So from doing the TikTok stuff, what's your ultimate goal? Do you want to like grow your image to where you have a bunch of followers, or are you just content with creating content? Are you chasing the numbers and eventually the money, or are you kind of just doing this for personal satisfaction, or a little bit of both?
A little bit. I've been a horror fan since, before I was born. Uh, so I absolutely love horror, and I've always wanted to do this. And I got told growing up that I would never go anywhere in life doing stuff like that. So there for a while I had to stop, but then TikTok came along and allowed me to reintroduce horror to TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even our content that started catching people's attention. It was the lives that I was doing at the time.
Okay.
We would have the black light, the Ouija board, we'd have the classical music on in the background, along with the white fan noise. And for some people, it was ASMR. I would get messages all the time saying, "Oh my God, you put me to sleep. Thank you."
Mm-hmm.
Or in some people's cases, we put kids to sleep. We didn't even know about it until we got messages from parents saying, "Hey, I need you to go live at this time and do the exact same thing." So it's been a magical journey on social media and a tough one. There's
Sure.
there's a lot of trolls and haters out there.
Of course. And you're always gonna, I mean, you'll never not find that. Even when I post my lives on YouTube, like the comments, I read everything myself, and it's like, why be mean or like, hate filled? Like, if you don't like what I'm doing, just move on. It takes 10 seconds to go to the next video. Like, you stopped on my video to, say something rude about me or a guest I had. It's like, what's the point, right? But I guess, they say that like you said, any exposure is good exposure, right? So at least someone's watching it.
Exactly.
At that point. So with the so now with TikTok and moving, I know you mentioned YouTube. Is that something though that you feel would help you, like if you were monetized, that you could put that money back into your production and like actually like use it to buy props and things like that? Like, is that kind of a motivation for you to do that, or because obviously you mentioned it before, like money obviously is the source of how we grow our stuff and what we put back into what we have. So is that something like you would eventually like to, be a part of, is the monetization on YouTube, where the money you make, you could put back into the production and all the stuff that goes with it?
I would love to, if I made anything off YouTube though. We're not, the house, we haven't been that successful on YouTube here lately. Like you mentioned earlier, all the copyrighted sounds, all of our sounds keep getting copyrighted, but TikTok's the one that seems to be giving us the bigger push.
Okay.
We don't know why YouTube won't push us.
Right, exactly. This is where this video is going to go. So maybe hopefully that, we can get some eyes on it, and my channel, evolves your channel, because, the only thing with that I feel with YouTube is that it has the largest growth potential. And I've kind of said that before, right? Because the people that have 100,000 subscribers or more on YouTube are making enough money where they don't have to work. They solely can make money off of advertisement and YouTube payments, where only a handful of TikTokers, it seems, are able to do that. But it seems a lot of people on YouTube are able to financially support themselves by just doing YouTube 100% of the time. Now, obviously, with our situation being smaller channels, but you seem, when you get to the 10,000 subs and more, like the monetization of there is definitely a potential of doing it full time versus, trying to just, duplicate somebody else's, ideas and put them in your own, where YouTube will start to pay you for your own efforts.
Yeah. Like I said, we would love to be successful over on YouTube. One of our biggest problems right now is just not posting frequently on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the, when you're on every single platform, it can be difficult to get wrapped up in each one.
Right. And obviously TikTok, you know, Instagram and Facebook are great for what they are, right? But you don't really make any money off of those. TikTok and YouTube are where you can monetize yourself. So that's why I think more people are going the TikTok route because of the, you know, even though TikTok takes almost 48% of what you do, it's still revenue in your pocket at the end of the day. You know, whereas Instagram, you could post all you want, have a million subscribers, and Instagram's only paying you for the ads. They're not paying you for the content.
Yeah.
You know, so there's not really much money to be had where YouTube and TikTok will can monetarily cover most of your expenses when you get to that point where it's, you know, you have the freedom to kind of do what you want at that point and you don't have to work or do anything else. YouTube is your job.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
that would be nice, but
Yeah.
you got to put in the work into that.
Sure.
And that's, you know, and it's not, and we're not talking about just like 1 or 2 videos like every other month. You got to do like what, 10 to 15 videos a day?
Absolutely. And the shorts, and you know how it is with the algorithms, like when you play their game, they help you out. So the more content you post and the more people you have interact with your channel, the more it's going to push out and the more it's going to grow. And that's the hard thing that, like, you know, a lot of people don't understand. You know, I ask people all the time, hey, do me a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram. But I'm asking for that stuff just so the more people that are involved in it, even if somebody drops a like or a comment, like YouTube sees that as people interacting with your channel. When no one interacts with you, YouTube thinks that you're a robot, right? You created a channel and that all you're doing is just, you know, flushing out other people's stuff, which happens, right? A lot of YouTubers do that, right? They'll, you know, post music videos, which aren't theirs. They'll say, we don't own the rights to the music or the copyrights to the band, but they'll post a 4-minute video every day of bands they like. So they get eyes on their channel. But like when somebody does something creative and they're using their own platforms, it's difficult to get eyes on you.
Yes, agree.
You know, so
very much agree.
You know, it's hard that way, and I understand. So the I know you mentioned, you know, you were a horror movie, you know, fan since you know a tiny youth. What were the movies that got you into like horrors? Like what was like, you know, give us a couple movies that were like really stuck out to you that were, you know, the genre created that you were like, wow, I can get deeper into this.
Without giving out my age, I'll say Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, all the originals, what we grew up with, you know, Return of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, all the George A. Romero zombie movies.
Right.
You know, what Wes Craven loved it, you know.
Yeah.
And not just, it wasn't just the movies, they had sci-fi TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I don't know if you remember the Friday the 13th TV series they did. It had nothing to do with Jason.
Right.
But it was about bad luck objects, basically.
Yeah.
You know, little stuff like that that gave you ideas over the years. But see, what people don't realize is back then, if you tried, like, this is for an example, like you're a kid in school and you're sitting there writing out a horror script. In class, back then, you were called a psycho and you were sent to an insane ward because they thought you were going to blow up the school or shoot school. You know, so we didn't have stuff like this back then, like the platforms and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. You know what I think, you know, besides all the movies and, you know, the ones you mentioned and you know, going deep into the cult classics between the 70s, 80s and 90s. But you know, you mentioned TV shows like when I was growing up, and I think we're pretty much relatively with the movies you mentioned was Tales from the Crypt. So every Friday night on HBO, you had the Crypt Keeper and you had these great little half-an-hour horror stories that people created, and it was awesome. It was kind of like the resurgence of the Twilight Zone, you know, or like, you know, Stranger Things or Outer Limits, right? It was kind of that genre, but just more graphic, right? And it was, I think that was kind of the introduction of like horror being part of people's households, because every Friday night at 10 o'clock was a new Tales from the Crypt, and that had 9 seasons.
That was a wonderful show. And what made that show so good, it was just a bunch of directors that got together just to have fun.
Yeah.
That's what that Tales from the Crypt was all about, and it was perfectly done. And that was another, you know, more inspiration because they told those stories like the electricity guy, you know, who would shot and kill people, or the Santa Claus episode that everybody loves and enjoys.
Yeah. That was one of the better, like, you know, the Santa Claus episodes, because you had Santa movies before, but never to that graphic, right, about it. and that was awesome. And just all of them. The one that they did with Morton Downey, where they had to spend the night in the haunted house, right? And he ends up hanging himself at the end. Like that would have never been done on a normal like non-movie type setting. But this was a TV show on HBO, and even though HBO was a paid subscription back then, and you had to buy the cable to get it, but like that was way ahead of its time to put stuff on that, like on a nightly show, on a weeknight especially.
I agree. But
yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of crazy. So all that stuff going into the love of horror and the likeness of that. Are you more of like I know some of your skits that you do are graphic, but all in good fun, right? Like a movie type of thing. Are you more about the ominous sounds and like the kind of like the Halloween approach where you get like a character and it develops, or are you kind of more of like the blood and guts, like shock value of doing things like, where you see the blood splatter and the, stuff like that? Like where do you kind of navigate yourself through?
As much as I would love to do the blood and guts, it would be, I like the shock factor to it. I like the blood and guts. We just don't have the materials to do that.
Sure.
But the shock factor, it could be as simple as, a victim's walking into a closet and you see Jack walk in behind them and close the door, and it's that suspense, like what the hell happened next, So we would like both, and we like jump scares and stuff like that. I wish our content could be more graphic, but
right.
Unfortunately TikTok has rules.
Sure, you gotta watch the guidelines and stuff. I get it.
We get in trouble all the time just for bringing this on.
Right.
It's just an act. It's not doing anything to anybody.
Sure. Yeah, I guess it's in people's mind frame, right? Because like when I watch your stuff, I love it, right? So I'm like, that this is great. I love the what's going to happen next kind of thing. But I mean, I could see somebody scrolling through and seeing that and being like, what is this? Like, get this off my channel. So you kind of get the people that are into it, right? Because that's what you want to attract are people that like what you're doing, right? And want to help you and support you in any way that they can. Myself included. Like I said, I loved your stuff, so that was awesome. I was like, I gotta get you on.
Oh yeah, no. When we first started, we had a lot of churchgoers come after us because of the Ouija board. That was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's tough because of the separation, right? Like you're doing it in good fun, and it's not real. Like people can't disassociate the fact of like knowing what is a skit and what is doing it for views versus like somebody out there actually putting an axe into somebody's back, right? Like you're not obviously doing that, but it's just you give the approach that you are, but you're not going through with it. Like I could see that probably being difficult for people to comprehend, I guess is probably the best word.
Oh yeah. Oh no. People actually thought we had victims. I would get nasty messages saying you need to let him or her go, and it's like, who are you talking about? Like let who go? Like I'm not playing this game, and you ain't using those screenshots for the FBI.
Right. Which I guess would have been kind of fun, right? If you would have kept those messages and like screenshotted them and put them up to be like, this is what we're doing. People think that it's real, like because obviously if they're kind of biting the bait, so to say, that if they think that it's real enough to where they're sending you those messages, that might have been kind of a cool thing to post, right? That show the messages, be like, this isn't real, but we're doing such a good job that people think that it is.
Oh yeah. Oh, we got a picture that we send people now that think it's real. It's of a guy tied up with Jack standing behind him. They're like, can we see your picture then? I'm like, here. There's a fresh new victim just for you.
Yeah.
Boy, they get
that's
mad.
Awesome though, right? That it's growing to get this big.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So for the final question that is kind of wrapping everything up, where would you want to be down the road? Like, what do you ultimately see the character, evolving into? Is it something that is gonna, obviously you're passionate about it and doing it. Is the growth potential for you? Like, tell us where you see this going.
We just want to keep growing and just entertaining. As far as the character developing, they say all characters have what, 3 stages they go through before the final stage. I forget what the stages are, but I think Jack, he's still kind of on his first stage right now, and there may be a second stage. One hasn't been in the talks yet, but it's probably about time because I'm pretty sure people are bored with stage 1.
Okay, well that's pretty exciting. So I know we had mentioned Sadie and that. I think I'm gonna keep all the questions for that for the next time around. So when you come back, we'll have her on, and you can kind of explain the connection and the stuff that you guys do together, because obviously that's a whole different, you know, kind of type setting. So we'll save her for the next time, and then what we'll do is we'll check in with you in a month or so, and you'll come back on again, and we'll see if you've evolved into the second phase of Jack then, and we'll catch up with you and see what everything's going from that point on, and then you know we'll see if we can bring Sadie on too and kind of get that intersection going there.
Right.
So, but yeah, we'll leave her stuff for next time. So Jack, finally, just tell us where we could find you. Where give us your socials. Give us, you know, where the House of Maskew is at, and where we can see all your stuff at.
On TikTok, we're the House of Maskew 2455. We believe it's the same on Instagram, House of Maskew. On Facebook, it's Jack and Maskew, or Jack Maskew is the name of it. And YouTube, it should be the same, House of Maskew. The only TikTok has a 2455, we believe.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks, Jack, for coming on and you know, showing us your character and explaining everything you're doing. Like, I absolutely love it. We will definitely catch up soon. And anybody who's on my channel, guys, please follow him. He's awesome, especially if you like horror content. It's really cool to see what he's doing. It's you know, I was so honored to have him on as a guest, and you know, he's got some really good stuff going on. So please, if you follow me, definitely follow him. You're gonna, you know, want to check out what he's doing. So we'll get you on again, Jack, in a couple months. We'll check in with you, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much for being a guest.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity.
You got it.